Very good morning. You're watching News on the Hour on Sunday morning at 10. Comprehensive 1-hour bulletin where we bring you news from across the globe. Correspondents will also be joining us with the latest. The National Executive Meeting of BJP will be held in New Delhi in a short while from now. The meeting will take place in hybrid form with some attendees to be present physically while others will also attend virtually. The members have started coming in. Also, Diwali business sales has crossed 1.25 lakh crore this year, breaking all records in 10 years. Elaborated story on that also. Vaccination update too, and the issue of reduction in taxes on petrol and diesel has become intensely political. All of that in detail. My name is Abhishek Mahajan. First up, the top stories that we are tracking this up. BJP National Executive Meet begins. Besides other important political issues, upcoming elections to 5 states to be the focus of deliberations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the meeting. Pressure mounts on Congress and other opposition parties rule states to slash levies on petrol and diesel. BJP holds protests in these states demanding cuts in VAT on the fuels after around 2 dozen BJP and NDA ruled states cut VAT on petrol and diesel. Prime Minister Narendra Modi emerges at the top of global leaders' approval ratings, tops the list of 13 world leaders with 70% approval. Over 108.21 crore COVID vaccine doses administered under the Nationwide Vaccination Drive so far. Recovery rate stands at 98.24%. Daily COVID-19 cases hit 9-month low, 10,853 new cases in the last 24 hours. Drone laden with explosive target Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi residence in Baghdad. Iraqi Prime Minister escapes unhurt. No group immediately claims responsibility for the attack. Eight people killed and many injured after crowd surge at music festival in Houston, USA. Police launched criminal homicide narcotics probe. And in ICC Men's T20 World Cup, England and Australia move ahead to semi-final spot with better net run rate in Group 1. New Zealand will take on Afghanistan today. Right, so we'll start with our top story. The National Executive Meeting of Bharatiya Janata Party began in New Delhi. The meeting is taking place in hybrid form with some attendees presenting physically while others are attending virtually. The meeting will commence with the inaugural address of the BJP President Jagat Prakash Nadda. PM Modi will deliver the valedictory address, shaping the day's agenda and formulating the party strategy on a variety of issues. All senior party leaders who are members of the National Working Committee are participating in the meeting. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Amit Shah, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman are also attending the National Executive Meet. And during the meeting, all important issues will be taken up for deliberations. The BJP National Executive will also discuss the forthcoming assembly elections in 5 states and other current issues. Right, to talk more on this, our colleague Arun Sharma is joining us on the phone line. Arun, describe the scenes there. BJP National Executive Meet. It will start in short while from now. Leaders or members must have started coming in at the convention center, and meetings agenda also in the upcoming elections and the way COVID situation was handled.
Absolutely, Abhishek. So it's a crucial BJP's National Executive Meet today, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also likely to deliver the valedictory address in this BJP's National Executive Meet. And we know this fact that the party president, JP Nadda, is likely to deliver the inaugural address as far as this National Executive Meet is concerned. Now, three important points that are likely to dominate this National Executive Meet. Number one, of course, the fact is that that this National Executive Meet is very much likely to discuss the organizational matters as well as its strategy for the upcoming assembly polls in 5 states. Now, we know this fact that Goa, Manipur, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, these 5 states are going for the polls in the first half of the 2022. So the later part of the 2022, Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh will also be, having their elections, the state election in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat as well. So 2022 is very significant as far as the state elections are concerned. So yes, formulating strategy. What should be the strategy of the BJP at the ground level? What role, the volunteers, the BJP Karyakartas should play as far as these important elections are scheduled? So what are their roles and responsibilities? How can, they take forward the party's vision and mission at the ground level? This is very much likely to dominate as far as the strategy, related to the upcoming assembly polls are concerned. Second important aspect is that introspection of recently held bypolls. This is also likely to dominate in this meeting. It will be introspected about the BJP's performance and what more can be done to strengthen BJP at the ground level. That is likely to come up on this crucial meeting as far as this National Executive Meet is concerned. Last but not the least, the central government initiative, the pro-poor policies, and of course how the government has handled the COVID crisis, the pandemic primarily, the vaccination drive, whereby India achieving this milestone of administering more than 100 crore doses in the first 9 months of the vaccination drive. So all these initiatives, how they were handled, how these kind of initiatives, that means the pro-poor policies designed by the government and reaching to the people of our country. So how volunteers can play an important role in this context, because the BJP believes in this organizational structure whereby the focus is that how can volunteers play an important role and they can take forward the vision and mission of the party primarily to the ground level. So all these are likely to be dominated in this important meeting. Now we know this fact meeting is being held for the first time after this COVID-19 outbreak. Now also this meeting is being held in a hybrid mode. Now we know this fact that Defense Minister Rajnath, Home Minister Amit Shah, Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister, the Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, all part of the executive meeting are going to participate physically. But yes, it is also in a hybrid format as well. So various leaders will also be participating in this executive meeting in a hybrid mode. So virtually they will also be connected. But yes, you can say that it is an important meeting, and this meeting is being held at the NDMC in Delhi. And accordingly, the meeting will be attended by close to 124 national executive members of BJP, which of course includes Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. Now, we also know this fact that at the venue of the National Executive Meeting, the party will also hold exhibitions about the Modi government's Atmanirbhar Bharat program and poor measures like providing free grains to the poor amidst the COVID crisis under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, by close to 80 crore people were fed or provided the ration. And as the COVID-19 vaccination exercise is concerned, how important milestones were achieved that the government has undertaken, and important vaccination drive that is taking place currently also. So how important role has been played by the government as far as vaccinating people. So all these highlights should also be placed here. Presentations will be made about the initiative taken by the government, and in that context, this meeting is considered to be very important as far as the upcoming state elections are concerned in 5 states.
Right, Arun, you have said it all. Important points. You mentioned 3 important points that will likely to top the agenda in the meet. But the most crucial point, like you mentioned, it will set the tone for BJP's strategy over the next few months for the elections beginning in February, March next year. leaders are also, you think, expected to discuss the recent by-polls in which the party registered a mixed performance?
Absolutely. So elections are going to dominate this national executive meeting, and introspection will also be done by the party. And importantly, we notice that 2022 is the important year for the state elections. Big states like Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, of course, northeastern states like Manipur, and of course Goa also, and Uttarakhand primarily. These 5 states are going for the state elections. Now, if you look at it this way, in majority of the states, BJP is ruling. So how the top leadership in these states primarily, what initiatives the top leadership in the state has taken as far as the various initiatives are concerned that has reached to the people. And how can the party primarily highlight all these initiatives at the ground level, at the panchayat level, at the block level primarily? How the initiative of the center and the state government where the BJP is in power, how both these two center and state have taken initiatives that has reached to the people of our country, and to highlight also the fact that how opposition in some of the states, government as an opposition, how they have performed, and how to highlight the fact that how was their performance in this COVID pandemic time, how they have dealt. So all this to be highlighted primarily. So we have seen that these kind of strategies are being made at the executive level, and of course they are being executed at the ground level by the volunteers, by the karyakartas of the BJP as well. So when we talk about the important elections, I think 2022, Goa, Manipur, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, all these states will go for elections in the early part of 2022. So in the second half also we have elections in Himachal and Gujarat. Now Gujarat is also home state for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and of course the Home Minister Amit Shah as well. So what strategies can be made as far as the states like Gujarat and Himachal are concerned? Long-term strategy primarily, how can we big achievement of center and state can be highlighted at the ground level, number one. At the block level, how the benefits of the government initiatives have reached, and to highlight these initiatives by the karyakartas or the volunteers that is likely to dominate in this executive meet. And in various initiatives like Prime Minister Narendra Modi's reformist approach and implementing all important economic reforms have been undertaken, be it the recipient of FDI, record-breaking FDI coming in during the COVID crisis, or giving a massive Atmanirbhar Bharat package of more than 20 lakh crore during the COVID pandemic time. All these are likely to dominate.
Right. Thank you as of now, Arun, and we'll keep taking updates from you. Thank you for your vital inputs. Moving on to our next story now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi topped the global leader approval tracker put out by American research firm Morning Consult with the highest percentage of ratings on Saturday. According to the data, PM Modi was ranked as the most approved world leader with a score of 70%, followed by Mexico President Lopez Obrador at 66% and Italy Prime Minister Mario Draghi at 58%. And this is not the first time that PM Modi has topped the ratings of the American research firm. In January 2021, Morning Consult rated Prime Minister Narendra Modi as the most popular head of government. Even in September 2021, PM Modi was ranked the most approved world leader by the firm among 13 world leaders with a percentage of 70%. He remains at over 60% in approval ratings since Morning Consult started collecting data in 2019. Morning Consult Political Intelligence tracks the approval rating for governmental leaders in Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, India, Italy, Mexico, South Korea, Spain, the United Kingdom and the United States. On a weekly basis, it updates the data for all 13 countries, offering real-time insight into the shifting political dynamics across the globe. Moving on, the issue of reduction in taxes on petrol and diesel has become intensely political. The BJP has gone on a warpath against the Congress and some other opposition parties. What has happened is that the BJP-led central government cut excise on the two fuels on Diwali. The reduction was 5 rupees on petrol and 10 rupees on diesel, and thereafter around 2 dozen BJP or NDA-led states have also cut levies on the fuels, adding more relief for the consumers. But the Congress and some other opposition party-ruled states have not.
The centre on the occasion of Deepavali had reduced the excise duty on petrol and diesel as a bumper Diwali bonanza to citizens. Several states began reducing VAT levied by them on petrol and diesel as a follow-up and giving much needed relief to the people. But still, there are several such states who have not done any reduction in VAT, which has led to this issue acquiring political dimensions. The Modi-led central government reduced excise duty on petrol by 5 rupees and diesel by 10 rupees, while 24 states and union territories have reduced VAT on petrol and diesel. Most of the states reducing the prices are BJP and NDA ruled states, but those states who have not reduced VAT include states ruled by Congress and other opposition parties. BJP has come out in attacking mode, protesting the rising prices of petroleum products against the opposition parties, including the Congress. For some time now, Congress as well as several opposition parties were aggressive against the government with regard to rising prices of petroleum products. But after centre's move, state governments are not doing enough from their share to give relief to the people. The states which have not yet reduced VAT from their share include states like Shiv Sena NCP Congress ruled Maharashtra, Aam Aadmi Party ruled Delhi, TMC ruled West Bengal, DMK ruled Tamil Nadu, TRS ruled Telangana, YSRCP ruled Andhra Pradesh, Left ruled Kerala, NPP ruled Meghalaya, JMM ruled Jharkhand, Congress ruled Chhattisgarh, Punjab and Rajasthan. The maximum reduction in petrol prices has been done in the Union Territory of Ladakh, followed by Karnataka and Puducherry. Odisha has also reduced VAT by 3 rupees, giving relief to the people of the state, but other opposition parties have not shown large heart. Now pressure is mounting on state governments led by Congress and other opposition parties. Akali Dal staged protests against Congress government of Punjab and demanded reduction in VAT from the state government. Meanwhile, BJP has come out on the streets in several states for giving relief to the people by the state governments, and they are vociferously demanding reduction in VAT from the state government.
असम, मणिपुर, त्रिपुरा, गोवा, कर्नाटका, गुजरात सबने कर दिए। उत्तर प्रदेश ने तो 12 रुपए से कम कर दिए। तो कांग्रेस सरकारें क्यों नहीं कर रही? बहुत गरीबों की चिंता की बात कर रहे थे, महंगाई की बात कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने क्यों नहीं दाम किए उनके सरकारों ने? और अशोक गहलोत जी की सरकार जो है अब कह रही है अरे और गिरेंगे तो हम सोचेंगे।
Fortunately, the finance minister of Kerala yesterday in a press conference he asserted that the government of Kerala is not going to reduce the price hike. It is totally unfortunate.
In spite of the government of India reducing the excise duty and price of the fuel, the Congress ruled states and the other ruled states are not reducing their VAT, and by which the petrol and diesel price, though it is reduced because of the government of India step, is not being reduced in the various states.
Overall, Modi-led central government and BJP NDA-ruled states have taken a major decision to give relief to the people, while states ruled by opposition parties, including the Congress, are seen to be doing only politics with regard to prices of petrol, diesel, and are just indulging in mere rhetoric in the name of providing relief to the people from their share. Bureau Report, DD India.
Diwali business sale crosses 1.25 lakh crore this year, breaking all records in 10 years. Enthusiastic traders set all eyes on forthcoming wedding season beginning 14th November. More in this report.
The festival of Diwali this time has come as a boon to the country's economy. This year on Diwali, people thronged the markets and did massive shopping. Enthused with the record sales on Diwali, traders across the country are now gearing up for the sale of the wedding season, slated to start from 14th November, the day of Dev Utthan Ekadashi. National Secretary General of Confederation of All India Traders, Praveen Khandelwal, said that in this year's Diwali festival, there is an estimated business of about 1.25 lakh crore rupees in the entire country, which is a record figure ever attained in the last one decade. In Delhi alone, this business was about 25,000 crore rupees.
1,25,000 करोड़ रुपए का कारोबार इस बार दिवाली पर हुआ, जिसमें चीन को 50,000 करोड़ रुपए के व्यापार के घाटा देश भर के व्यापारियों ने दिया। चीनी सामान कहीं पर भी बिके नहीं और लोगों ने चीनी सामान मंगाए नहीं। कन्फेडरेशन ऑफ ऑल इंडिया ट्रेडर्स का ये मत है कि दिसंबर के अंत तक लगभग 3 लाख करोड़ रुपए का पूंजी प्रवाह देश भर के बाजारों में होगा। उससे अर्थव्यवस्था मजबूत होगी और व्यापार की नई संभावनाएं बढ़ेंगी।
What's special this time? Chinese goods were not sold at all in the markets across the country, and the special emphasis of the customers was on the purchase of Indian goods, due to which China suffered a direct loss of business worth more than 50,000 crore rupees. Strengthening the call for vocal for local, people gave prominence to local products and things made by artisans.
इस दिवाली पर लगभग 15,000 करोड़ रुपए का व्यापार पैकेजिंग कमोडिटी का हुआ। वहीं 9,000 करोड़ रुपए का व्यापार पूरे देश में सोने और चांदी में हुआ। ये सारे आंकड़े पिछले 10 वर्षों के रिकॉर्ड आंकड़े हैं और उम्मीद की जाती है कि प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी के आत्मनिर्भर भारत और लोकल पर वोकल के अभियान को देश भर के व्यापारी देशवासियों के साथ सफलता से पूरा करेंगे और विदेशी कंपनियों को हम इस देश से ज्यादा मुनाफा कमाने की इजाजत नहीं देंगे।
This year, gold jewellery and silverware were purchased for more than 9,000 crore rupees. This Diwali also brought a sizable business to the tune of 15,000 crore rupees for the packaging commodity. This Diwali has inspired traders across the country to adopt new ways of doing business in the view of new opportunities and great potential for future business in India. With Ajay Vikram Singh, Bureau Report, DD India.
And Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal in a tweet said, Diwali dhamaka for retailers, highest sales in a decade witnessed during this festive season, with products worth Rs 1.25 lakh crore sold across the country. Joy for small artisans as customers go vocal for local country. And there's a good news further as far as UPI transactions are concerned. Record-breaking value of UPI transactions in October, and India's digital payments ambitions got a big boost in this month, last month I should say, in month of October, and the value of transactions made using UPI crossed $100 billion in a month for the first time. Here's a short video. Take a look.
पहले जब भीम ऐप लॉन्च किया गया था, तब मैंने कहा था कि वो दिन दूर नहीं जब अधिकांश बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शन नोट और सिक्कों के बजाय डिजिटली होंगे। तब मैंने ये भी कहा था कि इस बदलाव से सबसे अधिक गरीबों, वंचितों, छोटे व्यापारियों, किसानों, आदिवासियों का सशक्तिकरण होगा, वो एम्पावर होंगे। आज हम ये साक्षात अनुभव कर रहे हैं। Right, for now we'll slip into a very short break. On the other side, more stories.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
You're watching News on the Hour. With 30 new cases of Zika virus reported in Kanpur on Saturday, the total tally of cases of the mosquito-borne disease in Uttar Pradesh district stands at 79 now. In view of rising cases of Zika virus in Kanpur, government hospitals across Kanpur have sounded an alert and intensified surveillance under its infectious disease control campaign to identify cases of infection including Zika virus disease in the early stages. Government has also established an integrated command center to prevent the spread of infection. Team of health officials has been deputed in command center, which is working around the clock and monitoring the situation. Meanwhile, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has asked people to remain extra vigilant as the infection of Zika virus is spreading rapidly. The UPCM also asked officials to continuously monitor each and every patient. An update now on Nationwide Vaccination Drive. Country's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 108 crore landmark milestone. Over 108 crore 21 lakh vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far. More than 28.40 lakh vaccine doses have been administered in the last 24 hours. And let's now take a look at COVID-19 situation from across the country. The recovery of 12,432 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients to 3 crore 37 lakh 49,900. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 98.24%. Further, 10,853 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Active caseload is presently at 1,44,845 active cases, which presently constitute 1% of the country's total cases, currently at 0.42%. This is lowest since March 2020. The testing capacity across the country continues to be expanded. India has so far conducted over 61.48 crore cumulative tests. While testing capacity has been enhanced across the country, weekly positivity rate at 1.28% remains less than 2% for the last 44 days now. The daily positivity rate reported to be 1.18%. The daily positivity rate has remained below 2% for the last 34 days. And in a significant development, Centre has declared Srinagar Airport as a major airport under the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority Act 2008. And with this move, the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority will determine tariff for aeronautical services at Srinagar Airport. The Airport Economic Regulatory Authority was set up to regulate tariffs and other charges for aeronautical services at major airports. Under the AERA, the Centre can designate an airport as a major airport if it has an annual passenger traffic of at least 35 lakh. The central government is also empowered to designate any airport as a major airport through a notification. For the non-major airports, these tariffs are determined by the Airports Authority of India. Well, moving on to our next story now, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will address the second convocation of Dr. Rajendra Prasad Central Agriculture University on the premises of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Horticulture and Forestry College at Piprakoti in Motihari in East Champaran district of the state. Altogether, 850 students of agriculture and its allied subjects will be awarded degree at the event. Later in the day, the Vice President will inaugurate the 6th International Dharma Dhamma Conference on the campus of Nalanda University in Nalanda district. Around 200 delegates and experts from across the world will attend the conference. Well, news now from Mumbai, the financial capital of India, where 2 people killed after a fire broke out at a flat in a 15-story residential building in the Kandivali area of the city on Saturday evening. A total of 7 persons were trapped, out of which 5 were rescued safely, while 2 declared brought dead. Fire was reported at a flat on the 14th floor of the Hansa Heritage Building on Mathura Das Road in Kandivali at around 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. Fire officials said it was a level 1 fire and 4 fire engines and 3 jumbo water tankers were sent to the site along with other equipment to douse the fire. The air quality index of Delhi continues to remain in the severe category. As per the analysis of the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, Delhi's AQI stood at 436. Further, Delhi's AQI is likely to improve to the upper end of the very poor category as the surface winds are becoming stronger, dispersing air pollutants from today evening. And every day, DD India brings you a special story on India's freedom struggle in which we remember our freedom fighters and the heroes. In today's saga of freedom struggle, we remember legendary freedom fighter Bipin Chandra Pal, Ashwini Kumar Datta, Bharat Ratna Chidambaram Subramaniam.
In today's episode, we remember one of the greatest freedom fighters, Bipin Chandra Pal, who was born on November the 7th, 1858 in Sylhet region of British India, which is now in Bangladesh. An early leader of the Indian nationalist movement, Pal was one of the Lal Bal Pal triumvirate, which also included Lala Lajpat Rai and Bal Gangadhar Tilak.
The trio used to question the method of petitions followed by moderates and argued for direct action to achieve political objectives.
In 1886, Bipin Chandra Pal joined the Indian National Congress, and at the Madras session of 1887, he made a strong plea for repeal of the Arms Act, which was discriminatory in nature.
The Bengal partition of 1905 shook Bipin Chandra Pal deeply. He launched the journal Bande Mataram in 1906, which Aurobindo Ghosh soon joined as editor. Bipin Chandra Pal is known as the father of revolutionary thoughts in India. Along with Aurobindo Ghosh, he is recognized as the chief exponent of a new national movement revolving around the ideals of Purna Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott and national education.
Bipin Chandra Pal also helped set up Anushilan Samiti that supported revolutionary violence as a means for ending British rule in India and inculcated nationalist spirit among youth through weekly classes and interactions. He had no faith in mild protests in the form of non-cooperation, and on that one issue, he differed with Mahatma Gandhi.
In 1920, Pal was among the senior leaders who opposed Gandhi's resolution on non-cooperation over the fact that it didn't address self-government.
Bipin Chandra Pal made his efforts to remove social and economic ills. He opposed the caste system and advocated widow remarriage. After his first wife died, he married a widow and joined the Brahmo Samaj. Bipin Chandra Pal was a multifaceted personality that included being a leader, teacher, journalist, orator and writer. All India Radio salutes the nationalistic spirit of the great freedom fighter. Today, we also remember freedom fighter and educationist Ashwini Kumar Datta, who left us on 7th November 1923. The partition of Bengal drew Datta to the Swadeshi movement, and he founded the Swadesh Bandhab Samiti to promote indigenous products and boycott foreign goods. In 1908, the government of the newly formed Eastern Bengal and Assam banned the Swadesh Bandhab Samiti and jailed Datta in Lucknow.
বিধির বাঁধন কাটবে তুমি এমন শক্তিমান তুমি কি এমনি শক্তিমান আমাদের ভাঙা গড়া তোমার হাতে এমন অভিমান তোমাদের এমনি অভিমান.
In 1921, Mahatma Gandhi visited Barisal to show respect to the great leader. Salutes this great patriot who strived to work for the Indian public till the end of his life.
Today, we also remember freedom fighter and Bharat Ratna Chidambaram Subramaniam, who died on 7th November 2000. During his college days itself, he was an active member of the civil disobedience movement against the British and was imprisoned during the Quit India movement in 1942. He was later elected to the Constituent Assembly and helped in the framing of the Constitution of India.
After independence, he served as union minister on many occasions and later also served as the governor of Maharashtra. As the union minister for food and agriculture, he helped usher in the Indian Green Revolution. He was conferred with the Bharat Ratna in 1998. We salute this great Indian nationalist.
Right, so we are heading for another short break. On the other side, international stories. Keep watching DD India.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back. Let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. COVID-19 cases cross 25 crore across the world. The world records more than 22 crore 65 lakh recoveries from the disease, while the number of fatalities stand above 50 lakh 60,000. The US continues to remain worst affected with the disease with over 4 crore 73 lakh cases. The country has lost more than 7 lakh 75,000 lives due to COVID-19. And the World Health Organization has warned that Europe could see 500,000 COVID deaths by February as cases soar across the continent. At a press conference, WHO Europe head Hans Kluge blamed insufficient vaccine take-up for the rise. The rate of vaccination has slowed across the continent in recent months. While some 80% of people in Spain are double jabbed, in Germany it is as low as 66% and far lower in some Eastern European countries. Only 32% of Russians were fully vaccinated by October 2021. Hans Kluge also blamed a relaxation of public health measures for rising infections in the WHO's European region, which covers 53 countries including parts of Central Asia. As per WHO, over the past 4 weeks, cases across Europe had soared over 55%, and Europe's experience is a warning shot for the entire world. And some good news now. Bahrain has relaxed quarantine measures for vaccinated Indian travellers. Passengers travelling from India to Bahrain with a COVID-19 vaccination certificate issued in India will be exempted from mandatory 10 days of quarantine. The vaccines taken should be approved by the WHO or by the Kingdom of Bahrain. In a tweet, the Embassy of India in Bahrain informed that these passengers will also be exempted from pre-arrival negative RT-PCR certificate. And the German Medical Association on Saturday called for stricter curbs to stem the spread of COVID-19 this winter. The organization's president, Klaus Reinhardt, said only those vaccinated or recovered from the coronavirus should be allowed to visit restaurants, bars and cinemas, the so-called 2G rule. He said unvaccinated people should, if necessary, be temporarily subject to lockdown measures as the country faces a fourth wave of the pandemic. On Friday, Health Minister Jens Spahn announced that booster vaccine shots will be offered to all and not just to those over 60. He added that boosters after 6 months should become a rule rather than an exception, asserting that priority should go to the elderly and care workers. On Monday, Saxony will become the first German state to implement the so-called 2G rule for entry in restaurants, clubs or leisure and cultural facilities. Talking about Greece now, they entered first day of new restrictions to curb soaring coronavirus infections on Saturday, which required the unvaccinated to have negative COVID-19 tests. COVID-19 infections in Greece hit a new daily high almost every day in November, prompting authorities to announce new measures restricting access to cafes and restaurants, state services and banks to those who are either vaccinated or have a negative test. Greece has reported over 7.74 lakh total infections since the pandemic began last year. Some 16,200 people have died. About 60.5% of the population of about 11 million are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Health Minister Thanos Plevris said Greece will soon send letters and text messages as part of a new campaign to boost vaccinations. Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi addressed the nation today after a drone laden with explosive targeted his residence. In a pre-recorded statement broadcasted on Iraqi national television, Kadhimi reassured the Iraqi people that him and his entourage had survived the attack unharmed. He added that the government is working on building the nation on respecting the state and its establishments, securing a better future for all Iraqis. He thus called up on everyone for peaceful dialogue for Iraq and for Iraq's future. The attack, which security sources said injured several members of Kadhimi's personal protection detail, came after a protest in the Iraqi capital over the result of a general election last month turned violent. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attack on al-Kadhimi's residence in Baghdad's fortified green zone, which houses government buildings and foreign embassies. In United States, Texas police have opened a criminal investigation into the deaths at the Astro World Festival. At least 8 people died and several were injured after a crowd surge on the opening night of the music event. Panic broke out after the crowd began to press towards the front of the stage during the rapper Travis Scott's headline set on Friday evening. About 300 people were treated for injuries, including 11 taken to hospitals suffering from cardiac arrest. Meanwhile, Houston Police Chief Troy Finner told a news conference that the investigation would involve the homicide and narcotics divisions. 2 weeks ago, another Houston concert was cancelled after fans pushed into a Playboy Carti show being held within the same NRG Park complex. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Foreign Minister Yair Lapid presented a united front in their opposition to the United States reopening its consulate for the Palestinians in Jerusalem. Prime Minister said there is no place for an American consulate that serves the Palestinians in Jerusalem. Under former President Donald Trump, Washington delighted Israelis and outraged Palestinians by closing the Jerusalem consulate and placing its staff within the U.S. Embassy to Israel that was moved to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv in 2018. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Washington would be moving forward with the process of opening a consulate as part of a deepening of those ties with the Palestinians.
There's no room for another American consulate in Jerusalem. We always present our position quietly, without drama, and we expect it to be understood. Jerusalem is the capital of one state, and that's the state of Israel. I'm sure our American friends and us will continue to collaborate on a long list of big things.
In Glasgow, climate activists and demonstrators marched to demand more action on the climate crisis. The protest was the biggest so far during the COP26 summit. The march was one of many across the world. Similar rallies were carried in London and Paris, where demonstrators held banners and signs, performed stunts and chanted slogans in front of French capital City Hall. Meanwhile, Extinction Rebellion activists blocked a central road in Brussels as part of the European Day of Action for Climate Change. More than 1,000 people demonstrated in Australia's biggest cities of Sydney and Melbourne to protest against the government's climate policies and the strategies it offered at the UN Climate Summit in Glasgow. Amsterdam too joined the demonstration for call on global action. COP26 is seeking to raise enough commitment from world leaders to limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. That would require the world to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The recently passed $1 trillion infrastructure bill through Congress is a once-in-a-generation investment that will create millions of jobs. In his opening remarks at the White House, U.S. President Joe Biden said that the government has fulfilled the long-overdue promise. He added that he will sign the bipartisan bill soon in a formal signing ceremony that highlights all the people who worked on it, Democrats and Republicans alike. The bill will create blue-collar jobs, modernizing roads and bridges, and transform the transportation system. The vast majority of the jobs created will not require a college degree. Biden also said that Americans will see the effects of this bill probably starting within the next 2 to 3 months.
Once-in-a-generation investment that's going to create millions of jobs, modernize our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our broadband, a whole range of things, to turn the climate crisis into an opportunity. And it puts us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with China and other large countries and the rest of the world. It's going to create more jobs, good-paying jobs, union jobs that can't be outsourced, and they're going to transform our transportation system with the most significant investments in passenger rail, the most significant investment in 50 years, in roads and bridges, the most significant investment in 70 years, and more investment in public transit than we've ever made.
Well, some sports news now. New Zealand will face Afghanistan in their final game of Super 12 round in ICC T20 World Cup today. Both the teams are part of Group 2 in the tournament. New Zealand and Afghanistan are both still in the semi-finals race. If New Zealand defeat Afghanistan, they will qualify for semi-finals, while Afghanistan win is likelier to send India into the semis than themselves. Afghanistan have never faced New Zealand in T20Is. They have only met in ODI so far, the 2015 and 2019 World Cups, with New Zealand winning on both occasions. Earlier on Saturday, South Africa defeated England by 10 runs in their final Super 12 Group 1 match, but still missed out on qualifying for the semis of the ICC T20 World Cup due to net run rate calculations. And India's young shooting ace Saurabh Chaudhary claimed the silver medal in the men's 10-meter air pistol event of the ISSF President's Cup in Poland. Chaudhary shot a total of 24 in the gold medal contest, while compatriot Abhishek Verma settled for the bronze medal in the event. Germany's Christian Reitz won the gold medal with a total score of 34. Christian dominated the final, finishing with a score of 34, with Saurabh quite some distance behind with 24. Abhishek Verma grabbed the bronze medal after the second series of 5 shots with a score of 21. Iran's Olympic champion Javed Farugi finished 4th in the event. Well, that's all we have in News on the Hour. You stay tuned for more news and updates. Namaskar.